How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Nomination, and today we're here with a 2020 NFL offseason preview. This time we're going to be covering the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm very excited to talk about this team because, you know, they exceeded expectations last year, and I think everyone just wants to know what's next when talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. And that's another reason, because I keep calling them the Las Vegas Raiders, because they're going to be moving to Vegas. The draft is going to be held in Vegas, and it just feels like they have to make a couple of splashy moves, and they have to make a really splashy pick. And trust me, we will have, well, at least one of those things happening. Can't necessarily promise both. It just depends on your definition of flashy. But we're going to cover all bases here. We're going to talk about their finances, some notable free agents, some potential roster moves that could be made before the start of free agency, and then, of course, free agents they should target. What was I trying to say? Free agents that they could target, and then the first-round picks that I have for them, and other needs they can look to address throughout the draft. Talking about the Raiders just for a second, this was a team that a lot of people expected to implode, including myself. I don't know, man. It was a train wreck, from the word go. And that whole AB situation, it's hard for a lot of teams to really be focused because you have all the cameras with the Hard Knock series, and you have all the stuff that's going down with AB. You have the theatrics of John Gruden being back in the coaching, for a second full season, and it just seemed like it was doomed from the start. But you know what? They went 7-9. I predicted them to win a lot of upsets of the week, and they came through and did their part. And they were led by a rookie running back, Josh Jacobs, and a tight end who basically was on the verge of being permanently put out of the league, and Darren Waller, who has overcome a lot of things in his life, personally and on the field, to be out here. So, the Raiders are kind of that cool story that we hope can turn into something really special. And hopefully they can. John Gruden's still got, 7 years left on his campaign. We'll see how it goes. But you look at the total cap space via Spotrac. Again, it's their website. Don't be mad at me if it's a little off. You're looking at $51.6 million for the Oakland Raiders. That's a good bit of money for Oakland. They can make a couple of splashy moves if they wanted to, or just try to get some more depth established on this team. $51.6 million, that's a little cool amount to have. And they only have one notable free agent, in my opinion, and that's safety Carl Joseph. Primarily a strong safety, a box safety at that. I don't know if Oakland will be paying Carl Joseph. Remember, there was those rumors about he could be potentially traded, for a little while there, and it seemed like John Gruden, and Oakland and Carl Joseph, it seemed like they were all cool again. And, now that he's a free agent, will this team put their money where their mouth is, or is he gone? My guess is he's probably gone, because he's not on my potential free agent target list. And then looking at potential roster cuts, we only have one. Like I said, I don't want to do it unless it's 100% necessary. And for Oakland, this is a move that I could see happening, and that's cutting linebacker Tahir Whitehead. It saves roughly $6.25 million. To me, that makes sense. And we're starting to see teams be a little bit more conscious about cap space so they can have the money to bring in a lot of these free agents. It's something that they do all the time, but I feel like now more than ever, it's more like brought to the light of the public eye or whatever, if that makes sense. I don't know. But looking at their new cap total after that cut, again, saving $6.25 million, cutting Tahir Whitehead. If you look at the new total, it's $57.85 million. You could just round it up to $57.9 million. Again, good chunk of change for Oakland to play with. And I mentioned this in my New York Jets video, but for some of these teams, we're not going to have 5 potential free agent targets. We may only have 2 or 3. Maybe we'll have 4. Well, for the Las Vegas Raiders, we have 3. And I'm going to talk about all 3 of those right now. And all 3 of them, spoiler, are going to be on defense. So we'll start off with inside linebacker Corey Littleton as the first potential free agent target. Corey Littleton's going to have a really good market. Not only is he young, but he's been playing at a high level recently for the Los Angeles Rams. Just the Rams, I don't think are going to have the money to pay him, so I could definitely see him just leaving and probably staying local. And I think the best local, well, I guess you can't even call it local because they're not in Oakland anymore. They're in Vegas. What are you doing, JJ? But Corey Littleton, to me, is going to have a pretty solid market. And, you know, I could just see him leaving the Rams. I don't think the Rams will be able to afford him. And Michael Brockers and a couple of other free agents they have. So, you know, just taking that into account, you know, I think Corey Littleton's going to have a big market. He's young, playing at a high level at linebacker, especially the inside linebacker position. This team needs linebackers in Oakland. They desperately need linebackers, probably more than any team, and that includes my Green Bay Packers. You know, they desperately need linebacker help, and bringing in Corey Littleton will definitely help that. And then the second potential free agent target is going to be cornerback Jimmy Smith. You know, he's a veteran corner. You know, I think he's in his early 30s, maybe 29. He's not super old, but you know what I mean? Like, he's up there, you know, in terms of like cornerback years, I guess you could say. And, you know, he was suspended last year. He came back and played at a high level for Baltimore, but I think he could leave. You know, Baltimore's got to think about the future as well. You can't just be stuck on now. So I could see Jimmy Smith not being brought back by Baltimore, but I could see Oakland going after him. You know, it's a need. You know, they need an outside corner, a guy that's proven that can play for Oakland. I know they drafted Trayvon Mullen, and they got a couple of other guys there that they kind of like, but to me, they need a guy that's a proven starter that can hold it down as the cornerback number one of this team, and I think Jimmy Smith can fill in that role. He is a former number one cornerback on the Ravens, but now you look at that Ravens team, he's probably the third best corner on it, on a team that has Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. You know, like, that's crazy. But Jimmy Smith, definitely like the potential of him coming to the Oakland Raiders. I think he's a shoe-in fit and will be effective immediately. You know, like, he'll come in, play well. He'll make a huge difference for Oakland if he's actually going to sign there. And the third and final player is safety Justin Simmons from the Denver Broncos, a division rival. We've seen Oakland do this already with Tyrell Williams last year, you know, coming over from the Chargers, getting a nice little bag from Oakland, now Las Vegas, of course. We could see the same thing happen with Justin Simmons. You know, Justin Simmons had a breakout year at the safety spot, all-pro, Pro Bowler, you name it. Justin Simmons really put himself on the map, and Denver has a bright future if they're able to bring him back, which I think they should be able to, but for the sake of this video, he's going to be a potential free agent target. It's a need. You know, they need another safety. You know, Jonathan Abram, you know, he's a rookie. We'll see what he's got. But Justin Simmons can play free safety. I know Eric Harris had like one game where he popped off against Phillip Rivers, but, you know, I'm not really sold on a player after one game. You know, it's good that he had that performance, especially on a big stage like Thursday Night Football, but, you know, like, they could definitely get better. And in my opinion, if you have a chance to get better, you need to. And adding Justin Simmons to be your free safety next to potentially Jonathan Abram as your strong safety, I'd be intrigued by that if I were Oakland. Not to mention, you have LaMarcus Joyner, who's technically a free safety, but he's playing nickel corner for this team. So it's just something to think about. Justin Simmons, a heck of a football player. You could play him all over the field. And like I said, he broke out last season. Maybe he carries that momentum over, or he just collects his bag and heavily regresses like some free agents conveniently start to do. Now we look at my first round picks for the Las Vegas Raiders that I did in my mock draft 1.0. Again, if you have not seen it, what are you doing with your life? You need to check that out. But at number 12 overall, the Las Vegas Raiders, I gave them wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. And at number 19 overall, via the Chicago Bears, I gave them cornerback C.J. Henderson. If both of these draft picks happen for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think that's a huge W. You know, getting CeeDee Lamb, an electric playmaker, to help out whoever their quarterback is, whether it's Derek Carr or somehow Tom Brady or somehow, I don't know, Nathan Peterman, who's on the roster. whoever the hell their quarterback is, he is going to help out a ton. CeeDee Lamb is probably the most explosive player in college football, and especially at the wide receiver position. And you look at CJ Henderson, he has the size to be a good corner in this league. I know his tape was a little rocky this year at Florida compared to what he did the previous year, but I think CJ Henderson's going to be fine. I think people really just overanalyze I think a lot of people just overanalyze it, when it comes to a corner. Like, oh my gosh, they can't tackle. That's not necessarily their job. Their job's to cover. Safeties, linebackers, those players have to tackle. Corners, yeah, it would help if they could tackle, but their job is to cover and be disciplined in zone coverage and stick with their man. Don't draw penalties, on yourself at least. Maybe if you have the skill of, Oscar-nominated acting skills on how to draw offensive pass interference, yeah, that'd probably work. But I really like these 2 picks for the Las Vegas Raiders if it were to happen. You look at other positions to address during the draft. Desperately need more linebacking help. Desperately need more wide receiver help. You could look to add some offensive line depth as well. You have a couple of guys that are aging on the offensive line. Rodney Hudson, Richie Incognito, Gabe Jackson, all interior offensive linemen. They're good players, but they're starting to age, and your future is kind of, Colton Miller and Trent Brown, who, Trent Brown has proven that he's good. Colton Miller, pretty solid sophomore campaign. But you need to start thinking about the future as well of your offensive line, because they're all kind of veterans in the interior. But like I said, linebacker, wide receiver help, they desperately need it. It's without a doubt, And then you look at defensive back depth. I think we're going to address that heavy in the draft for the Las Vegas Raiders with the CJ Henderson pick, but I don't think one's enough. I'd like to see him bring in another safety potentially. But they have a good foundation going in the secondary. And then, of course, defensive line depth. If they want to... I know they drafted Cleveland Farrell and Max Crosby, but, go get another edge rusher. Go get maybe one interior guy. Just try to get more bodies in there. Like I said, it does not hurt to have that aspect, on your team. Just more guys that can play the position. But, hopefully you guys enjoy. And the next team we'll be covering, it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and peace out.